sometimes people want to exit, right?
Yeah.
But then if you do exit, then obviously you have to pay the taxes, right?
So
Yeah.
let's shift into capital gains tax, right? And so when we talked before the episode, right, I said, "Hey, what's?" You're like, "What would your listeners want?" Like, well, what would you say the biggest frustration is when it comes to exiting highly appreciated NFTs, cryptocurrency, right? Because you could be in it at like 100,000. I'm literally working with an NFT owner right now. His position went to the tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, right? And he's like, Brett, I'm not exiting yet. One, because he believes in the future of it, but two, he's like, I don't pay all the tax. He's like, so is there a way to like defer the tax? And I'm like, yes, there is, but I'm curious, what's your biggest frustration that
I
you see
mean,
there?
yeah, like I think but I also get the frustration of like, wanting to sometimes exit because this market is so volatile. Like, I give you an example. I'm not gonna say the name of the brand, but I bought this NFT for $500. 2 weeks later, Gary Vee and Justin Bieber bought it, and then the price went to 10K. I sold it. My sister kept it. So I got, I spent $500 and I sold it for 10K. My sister kept it. It went to, I believe, like somewhere around 15K, but then now it's back into like 5K. So it's that like scary thing where you're like, wait, what if it goes down, right? Like, what if it doesn't go up all the time, right? Of course, if it's your own NFTs that you're investing in, you can always market it and just like bring the floor price high up. But if it's someone else's, you never know, like if they're just gonna, at some point they're just gonna be sick of their own brand and then be like, well, we're done. Like we've done so many things for this community. We just want to take a break, right? And the floor price just dips and that's it. Like you can't do anything about that, right? And you wouldn't know if they have these plans, right? Unless you're just really like close to the community and everything. So that's one side of it where it's like, okay, so it is like sometimes people want to exit, right?
Yeah.
But then if you do exit, then obviously you have to pay the taxes, right?
Well,
And
you would think so, right? And this is where we come in. I want to just plug this right here, right? So you
yeah,
ready? So and I'll give you actual deal stories that have closed, right? Because that's always the most practical way of doing it.
yeah,
So we had a client. She worked for one of the big tech companies, Silicon Valley, and she
yeah,
bought Bitcoin at 30 to 50,000. She's probably like your roommate or the guy that you know in Santa Monica.
right,
But in this scenario, it went to $50 million. Okay.
yeah,
And she calls and she's like, I've never sold. I've never sold because I don't want, A, I don't want to pay the tax, and B, I believe in the long-term future. But
yeah,
C, I didn't have like a thing I believed in to put the money in. But now I do. I want to invest alongside my college roommate to do a
yeah,
tech startup educational company, something they believed in and they're really passionate about.
right.
And she goes, but I don't want to have to pay the tax. So how do I defer the tax and still do that? I'm like, enter the deferred sales trust. So she exited 5 million in like 1 hour into a Kraken account. Okay, she transferred the coin there, and by doing it in the order that we tell her to do it in, which it means tax deferred, and through something called a deferred sales trust. And this has been done thousands of times, billions under management prior to this cryptocurrency exit. It had been done with businesses, real estate, LPs, LLCs, S corps, you name it, car dealerships, dentists, orthodontists, all 50 states, all of this, but had never done with cryptocurrency. Now, the one before hers was actually the first one. It was a gentleman. He lived in the East Bay area, and he and his wife had Ethereum, and they bought Ethereum for around 100,000, a little bit of Bitcoin too, and went as high as 13 million. And their longest time, they're riding the roller coaster of going to 6 million, and then it crashes, and then it goes to 9 million, then it goes back to 3, and then this whole thing. And should we sell? Should we sell it all? They want to retire. Well, we exited when they were at 13 million. 5, and then it went up again, and they exited at another 2.5. So they picked 7.5 million off the table, and they feel fortunate they did because now they don't have to work anymore, right? They can diversify. The wealth can be put in other things. But here's the other cool thing that I'm working on. We haven't done this yet, but you can actually invest back into crypto low again. So when I went back to with the trust, all tax deferred, and I went back to my my client who did the first 5 million out of the 50, and I said, look, Bitcoin's like some of the all-time highs. Like we sold at 54,000 a coin. It went to 68. And I was just like, hey, what if you exit it right now? Is that a higher number? This is like in the 60s. I'm like, you can buy back in at a lower number. She's like, yeah, I'll think about it. I'm still getting to know you in the first 5 million. I don't know if I'm ready for the other, 45 or 50. And anyways, you know what happened, right? Bitcoin drops to 35. We call it the Monday morning quarterback. But I want to let people know, like that idea of the fear of missing out on the upside guess what? You can exit into the trust, kind of like put into an IRA, kind of like put into a 401k, defer the tax, but then you can partner with it and go back, buy real estate, go back and buy NFTs or crypto at a low and write it all back up, all tax deferred, right? And that's the cool thing because I call it the gas fees, right? It's 30 to 50% every time you exit. It's tax, right? And that's the key. So I'm curious, what do you think about that? Have you ever heard anything about that like that before?
I love that. I mean, actually, so I just recently had like one of my wallets worth of 100K got hacked, and just like the seconds just went. And I was just thinking about it. I was telling my buddy the other day, I'm like, I want to like not have like everything maybe in crypto. I want to have real estate, like bunch of real estate, because that's like a lot easier to manage sometimes. I mean, I did something very stupid. Like I didn't have to like lose that 100K in that wallet, but I think there is definitely value in just like bringing it something like real estate or something else, and then or like investing in a company or whatever, where it's not as volatile sometimes, and then obviously gain the benefit of that. But also I love the idea. Like I gotta actually come back and watch this in like slow mo, like to just understand this, because that's actually very cool. Like being able to, because that's one of the things I have is like, okay, well, I've got this like these wallets, but then like how do we get it out? You know what I mean? Like so.
That's why we're here, right? We'd love to have you. If people who are listening, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com.